Summary of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. Zen and the Art of Motorbike Maintenance has two separate stories that run at the same time. The first story is about the narrator and his 11-year-old son Chris's motorbike trip across the country. The second story is about a man named Phaedrus, who is an intellectual who lives alone and is obsessed with a philosophical idea called quality. At the start of the story, the narrator, Chris, and their friends John and Sylvia Sutherland leave Minneapolis on a motorbike trip. The storyteller tells stories about the trip and philosophical talks that he calls chautauquas while the group is traveling. In his first chautauqua, the narrator talks about John and Sylvia's dislike of technology and how it fits with their romantic way of life, which means they value first feelings over deep thought. The person telling the story has a more critical view that he calls classic. As the party moves, the narrator has strange associations with the places they visit and keeps thinking about ghosts. Not long after that, the narrator explains these strange mental episodes by saying that Phaedrus had a nervous breakdown and was given electroshock treatment. The narrator's consciousness then appeared in Phaedrus' brain. That is, Phaedrus and the narrator are the same person in the past and the present. The narrator's strange memories are fragments of Phaedrus' life that have been forgotten. The person telling the story of Phaedrus' life tells them as they drive through Montana. Phaedrus was very smart when it came to science, but he quit school because he didn't believe that science could explain everything. After looking into different types of truth for a few years, Phaedrus finally got a job teaching English at Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana, which is where the tourists are going. The tourists stay with Robert and Jenny DeWeese in Bozeman. They are friends of Phaedrus. What's being said and Chris go on a hike up a mountain. The storyteller talks about Phaedrus' journey to find the idea of quality, which is what makes something good. Finally, Phaedrus realizes that quality is neither subjective nor objective, even though he was torn about this for a long time. Subjectivity and objectivity come after quality. In fact, quality is what makes it possible for the world to be split into subjective and objective realms in the first place. Chris whines and acts up while we're hiking. The narrator has a scary dream about a glass door that keeps him from his family while he and his son are camping on the mountain. The narrator cuts the hike short because they are afraid that bad things will happen if they reach the top of the mountain. They then go back to Bozeman. Once they are back on the road and moving west, the narrator starts a series of chautauquas that show how quality can show up in the right way to maintain a motorcycle. He goes into more detail about a number of things, including the stuckness that can lead to new ideas, the gumption that keeps quality work going, and the gumption traps that can stop someone from becoming aware of and sensitive to quality. A big problem that gets in the way of getting in touch with quality is rigid, dualistic thought. The narrator has another dream about a glass door, and he sees that it represents his struggle with Phaedrus and his split identity. The narrator thinks back to the time he spent with Chris as Phaedrus and decides that he needs to tell his son about his mental state. The person telling the story talks about Phaedrus' time at the University of Chicago, where he studied ancient Greek philosophy non-stop. That's where Phaedrus has an intellectual debate with the head of his multidisciplinary committee, whose Aristotelian ideas are at odds with Phaedrus' theory of quality. After this fight, Phaedrus goes totally crazy and has to be hospitalized and given electroshock therapy. The narrator and Chris's friendship gets worse as they drive towards San Francisco. This person is going to send Chris home and then go to the hospital himself. Chris asks him about his mental illness, and he tells his son that he might have it too. This really bothers Chris a lot. When Chris asks the narrator why he didn't open the glass door between them at the hospital, the narrator says he wasn't allowed to. This makes both of them realize that Phaedrus wasn't really crazy. The narrator starts to come to terms with his once hugely conflicted identity, and he and his son are excited as they ride towards San Francisco.
About the author. Russell M. Pirsig was born in 1928. His real-life story is pretty much the same as the life story of the narrator and his past self, Phaedrus, that is told in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Pirsig was very smart. At age 9, he had an IQ of 170. In 1943, when he was only 15, he had already signed up to study biology at the University of Minnesota. But he was kicked out of school in 1945 for not doing well in school. He was 88 years old when he died at his home in South Berwick, Maine, on April 24, 2017.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.